But today, I'm the greatest of all time. Thank you.
Never stop, forget it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo, no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I love. I got a poker face, but honestly, I'm not one to bluff. I flip a switch, never miss, man, I always stay up. Don't let them see you always have a plan to stay tough. This life ahead of you ain't easy, it was built to be rough. But that's what makes a personality, is tragedy, bruh. So keep your head on your shoulders. Now we ain't out here moving rocks, we out here moving boulders. Now we ain't getting posterized, we out here making posters. And we ain't got nothing to hide, we move forward like soldiers. You better wake up for the pay stub, or you'll pay up. Don't make love to the game, bruh, fuck the game up. Change up, rearrange stuff to your greatness. Same us for the way up, play the game, bruh.
Never stop, forget it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top, yeah.
You know I'm always honest, there ain't no way I'll never stop it.
I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top,
I'm always flirting with pain, she like to hurt me and maim. I'm always working to change, but she's still lurking the same. I keep on building a dynasty while the haters be trying me, but they hate from inside.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to a special edition of Unscripted Live here, of course, on the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. I'm your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers, and joining me to talk about a recent unfortunate trend that we have been seeing in the world of Major League Baseball, dealing with arm injuries, specifically towards pitchers. The one, the only, one-legged wonder at the moment, Jay McLove. What's up, Jay?
Hey, I'm getting better, man. I'm getting better. Just yesterday, I was able to do a few more things that I haven't been able to do, so it's getting better. And if these dang Astros could just get their butts together, we'd be okay.
It's early season, my friend. We got a lot of baseball left to cover here, and it's going to be a fun time. But if you want to check us out and see what all we have to say about the ongoing MLB season, you can follow us on our social media platforms you see here, be on Facebook, X, TikTok, YouTube, and on Twitch. Also, go and connect with us over on LinkedIn. If you want to come help out with the network, that is the best place to do so. Go over there, shoot us a DM, and we will be in contact with you as soon as possible. Jay McLovin, it is time, my friend. Let's delve into this. Let's discuss this. Let's talk about the amount, how many people are getting hurt with arm injuries. Now, it is kind of getting floated out there that a lot of insiders are saying that people are a little bit upset and a little bit worried, specifically players and upper management, when it comes to just the sheer amount. I mean, just so far in the last week or so at the time of this recording, we've already lost Yuri Perez for the Marlins. We've lost Shane Bieber for the season out there with the Cleveland Guardians. We've lost Yankees reliever Jonathan Loaizaga, and now Spencer Strider is one of the latest ones. He's currently on the 15-day injured list. So, and also, don't forget the most recent one that just happened the other night, Framber Valdez. He was scratched from his start due to elbow soreness. So, looking at this, let's just talk first off about the sheer amount we've already seen with, 10 games or so, even into the season? We've already seen a multitude of not just guys who are barely cracking the roster. I mean, all the names I listed there are contributing factors in some way, in some higher form for all the teams I mentioned. So what do you think about how just the amount that we've seen so far this year?
Yeah, I said it last year when they went to these smaller training camps, less games, less conditioning and stuff like that, that there was going to be a lot of issues. And this, you're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. You know, we saw it last year. Look at all the pitchers who went down last year. You see it this year. You know, when they don't have enough time to prepare their bodies and get their bodies ready for what they got to do. And that pitch clock, I mean, I still like the pitch clock. It does speed up the game. But I think it messes with their mechanics. I think it messes with the way they do things. And Logan, and Yeah, it's just I don't personally like it. I wish they would go back to the longer training camps, and I think you'd see less arm injuries. I mean, I still got Luis Garcia on the disabled list from that mess. Garrett Cole is just getting ready to come off of his over there with the Yankees, and you just see it all. Clayton Kershaw. I mean, you just see it all over the place.
So I found a stat here, and this is what I'm reading off of CBS Sports. They said last season in 2023, 34.2% of pitchers that appeared in major league games, Jay, and this is an outstanding stat for me. 34.2% of pitchers who appeared in a game last season have had Tommy John surgery at some point in their careers.
Yeah.
It was up from every other year. In 2022, it was 34%. 2021 was at 30.5%. 29.8 in 2019. That was the latest it goes back to here before, with everything going on. So we're seeing a rise in from what was considered the kiss of death in Major League Baseball for a pitcher. I mean, 20 years ago, even if you got Tommy John surgery, you could come back, but you weren't nearly the player you were. But it's odd, though, that just with the advancement in healthcare and technology and rehab and whatnot, players are coming back and not just being consistently on the field, but winning Cy Young Awards, leading their teams to postseason success after this once we thought of the worst injury you could really get in MLB.
Right.
So
I mean, look at Verlander. Verlander, he went on the D. He went up having the surgery, comes back from Tommy John and throws and gets a Cy Young and a no-hitter.
Yep.
I mean, it can happen. It can happen.
Okay.
They say you're supposed to be better than what you were. So, I mean, that is still a viable thing. And you may not be exactly who you were, but you still got the mechanics and you still know how to place balls.
So I don't think that it's really one main subject that's causing all of these injuries. I think it's a combination. And as we're seeing guys throwing harder and harder and harder every single year, I mean, if you don't have at least a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, chances are you're not making the team, especially as a starter nowadays.
Right.
And now relieving has gone that route as well. So do you think that maybe teams in AAU and other various leagues where kids are coming up, I would say ages 13 plus, that are traveling, playing baseball, that are on higher ranked teams, playing to represent their state, and unfortunately, Jay, sometimes in Little League, where kids just kind of first learn about pitching. Do you think that has a contributing factor? Because, I mean, we're seeing more and more guys kind of from when that generation started. Because, I mean, let's just say if a guy's, 25, 10 years ago, he was 15, he was 14. And I would say, especially in the last 10 years, we have seen a huge rise of players and pitchers throwing harder than ever, but also getting injured more. So what would you say for coaches out there, for parents who want their kids to have the best success? I mean, the stats back it up, Jay. Kids are getting Tommy John surgery before they get to high school.
And some of them are getting the Tommy John without even a reason for Tommy John. They're just getting
it just to get it. So what would you say? Yeah, I'm about to say, what would you say to maybe fix that or to get away from that? Because I get you want to have the best success, you want to play for the best teams, all that. I feel like before you get to high school, though, it shouldn't be the be-all, end-all.
No.
I feel that once you get to high school, that's when you can really start taking this seriously and decide, hey, I want this to be my job. I really want to go after this. But if you're 7 years old, if you're 12, if you're 13 or whatever, you really don't know what you want.
Right.
You want to do this. It's something you love. I understand that. But a lot can change going into high school and whatnot. So what would you say to the coaches and parents out there about just the amount of injuries we're seeing even at such a young level?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, first of all, just cutting into somebody is a lot.
Right.
I mean, anytime you cut into the body, it's never a good thing. I don't care what they say. You're always doing something to your body when you cut into it. So I'm not a big firm believer in just going out and getting the surgery just for the sake of getting the surgery. But yeah, what would I say to them? I would say, look, coaches, you guys need to pay more attention to their pitching counts. You need to pay more attention to their mechanics. You need to be watching for signs of fatigue so you can prevent injuries. There's a lot of things that the managers can do from what they're watching. They're literally watching all they're doing is watching his mechanics. So they could give him a lot of feedback in that direction. And then at the same time, just make sure that these pitchers are really doing their proper warm-ups, their proper toss-ups, everything they got to do to get themselves physically and mentally ready. So I would say make sure you're doing the right preparation is really key.
No, for sure. And getting back to the professional levels, the big leagues, I think one thing that is also hurting, you mentioned it, we'll go more in depth into it, is the pitch clock. It's something they introduced not too long ago. And initially, we all kind of thought it was going to be players not moving fast enough and getting more people on base and whatnot and getting violations, which it does happen occasionally from time to time. But do you think that now that pitchers are, I wouldn't say rushed, but are timed in having to speed up their movements and speed up their in-between pitch just routines, do you think that has a possible reason as to why we're seeing so many? Is the addition of the pitch clock?
There's always, I think there is a small percentage to that is responsible because, like I said, pitchers and baseball players are creatures of habit. And once you start messing with that habit, forcing them to do this or forcing them to do that before they're ready to do this or that, I think it does put a lot on them, both, mentally and physically, right? Just getting all your mechanics right. Not having to rush your mechanics or however you do your mechanic, make sure you do it every single time the same way. I mean, you want to be rushed in that. So I like the idea of throwing to the first base twice, and if you don't get him, then you're done. I like that rule, but I don't like that pitch clock rule.
So when you look at the pitch clock, and we're going to kind of tie this in to just how hard pitchers are throwing, as I just mentioned. So looking at just some numbers coming from StatCast, which is the kind of the be-all, end-all when it comes to sports stats and really diving deep into it. So, Jay, we talked about it, right? We said 10 years ago. Let's go back 9 years to 2015. 9 years ago, the average fastball velocity was 92.6, okay?
Okay.
This past April, so we're in currently, 94.0 is the current velocity. Now, when you look at that, you think, 1.4, what's the big difference there? It's a lot, Jay. It's a lot. Yeah. I mean, you don't see guys throwing 92 much anymore. You really don't.
No, you don't. And I think that is going by the wayside.
You don't see Greg Maddox's out there tossing 89 on a good day. You're not seeing that. And also, too, I looked at the fastball. Let's look at spin rate, right? For curveballs, for sliders, you name it. Just how fast the ball will spin. Because that's also been a big addition. And also something that a lot of guys have been throwing for 10 plus years now, going back to their times in recreational leagues. So back in 2015 of April, the breaking ball spin rate was 2,156 RPM. Okay. Then as we head on to current day, that has jumped up, Jay, to 2,458. So nearly 300 more RPM.
Yeah. That's incredible.
So that is just wild. Obviously, it shows that, yes, pitchers are throwing a lot harder. It shows that their break is a lot better.
Mhm.
But I think it's a combination of the things we've mentioned. Of you look at it, it's the pitch clock, it's the spin rate, it's the fastballs, how hard these guys are throwing, and you mentioned it too. It's the now shortened spring training. There is obviously still a solid amount of spring training, but they did shorten it a couple of years ago. So what does MLB look for or look to do now that we've seen already an abundance of people going down this season? And it seems, unfortunately, man, like there might be a lot more down the pipeline. What can they do to resolve this? What are some ways they can fix this problem? Is it you add more pitchers to your roster that you're like, okay, we'll have a 43-man roster, but it has to be pitchers? Is it just what do we do here so guys aren't getting hurt nearly at this clip?
Yeah, like I said, it really just goes back to what I was saying, man. They gotta put a lot more into the mechanics of these pitchers, right? So now you got 20 seconds. Now you got 18 seconds, right? So start thinking about getting your mind mentally prepared. It does give you a lot of time for that, so that's a good thing. I just don't know, man, Logan. Does it give them enough time to recover from, like you said, when they're throwing 98 miles an hour or 94 miles an hour? I mean, at some point, doesn't the fatigue start to catch up to you because you're not having proper rest? Yeah, what can they do? There's nothing really much they can do, honestly, Logan. Other than because they're not gonna lengthen it, or they're not gonna shorten the regular season. So
no. It's tough, man. It's tough to watch, because you don't want your players to go down. You don't want really any of these guys to get hurt. You want to see as many of them on the field and healthy as possible. And it's just the fact now that we're seeing all these guys go down. We're seeing guys throw harder, and I think that might be a thing too, man. You're seeing players. I'm not going to say get rushed back because you always get a timetable, and it's hard to stop someone when they're, motivated to come back and contribute in some way or form or fashion, that they're getting months/years cut off of their careers in the league. I think that maybe you just add a little bit longer onto an injured list, because we're seeing, like I mentioned, we're seeing guys that have had Tommy pitching more and more, throwing harder than ever, and still getting hurt.
Yeah.
Also, I found another one here that, going back to just players who have had injuries, specific, we'll go elbow injury or elbow surgeries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Between the minors and the majors, in 2021's the most recent stat, there were more than 260 pitchers to be exact, more than 260 pitchers in both the minor and major leagues back in 2021 who have had some type of elbow surgery. Jay, that was up more than 400% from the previous 10 years.
That's incredible. That is incredible. Because
just that jump from 2011 to 2021 right, was that much.
That's insane. I mean, when you think about it, that really is insane.
It is. No, it is. And also another thing too, I thought this was pretty neat too, a pretty neat stat, but unfortunate. So teams spent a major league record, Jay, $1.147 billion last season on salaries for injured players and their replacements, most of those being pitchers.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, but it is. I mean, think about who has the hardest job out there physically is the pitchers, right? Because how much torque they got to generate and to throw those pitches. I mean, that's not easy. I mean, that's their whole body every single time for, 85, 95 times. So, yeah. I mean, I just think it's important that we give them more time to prepare rather than just cut down these preseasons.
And I think like I said, I know that's the kind of main reason on your end. For me, it's got to start younger because I just put the numbers up. I told you the numbers, how much it went up in the past 10 years from 2011 to 2021. Over 400% more pitchers have had surgeries to their elbows, have gotten hurt.
Yeah.
And I get that injuries are a part of the game. I fully understand that. None of us are unbreakable. I understand that 100%, man. However, when you have 12 and 13-year-olds, not even in high school, throwing 85+ mile an hour pitches to get looked at by high schools, Jay, I don't know about you, but I wasn't a star athlete. Even going into high school, I didn't have offers from out of state. I didn't have the biggest school in my in the state want to have me. I was going to uproot everything for high school baseball. And that is what we're seeing. And I don't understand it, why we're having these kids throw so hard, throw so much, because they're playing year-round at this point. Before, you just play in the spring and in the summer, and maybe a little bit in the fall. But now it's pretty much, it's a job if you're taking it on. If you have these kids in certain programs and whatnot, constantly training, wanting to get better. And like I said, I understand that. Wait until high school. Wait until high school. Or at least don't push nearly as much. You don't need to have a 12-year-old Jay throwing 85 miles an hour for 600 pitches over the span of X amount of starts before they even get anywhere. You don't, and I know that they have pitch limits in those leagues, and rightfully so. Maybe they need to shorten them. But that is what we're seeing more and more so. Those kids that are getting to high school, that are continuing their dominance because they were so good at that age, that are now going into higher level rounds, getting drafted, heading to the minor league systems, and then ultimately getting to the major leagues, getting hurt along the way at some point, 9 times out of 10, it seems.
Yeah.
That, I think, is the biggest issue, is the pitch clock, is a shortened spring training, is rushing these players back from injury more also a concern? Yes, of course it is. It's not one factor. It's all of these, I would say, wrapped up into just a giant look at it.
Yeah.
And also I found another stat here, Jay, about Tommy John surgery. So the first one, it has an 85 to 90% success rate, I would assume, meaning everything goes well, you get back. But Jay, you mentioned it. The success, you talked about the second Tommy John that Justin Verlander had. That usually, and that is a rare exception he has, that drops to 50 to 55% of a success rate on repeat surgeries. That's what we're looking at with Shane Bieber, Jay.
Right.
He's had arm injuries. He's had shoulders injuries. You don't know when he's going to come back. And like I said, you've had Scherzer, DeGrom, Verlander, Cole. All these guys get hurt. Cy Young winners get hurt. You've also had, Justin Steele out there in Chicago. You've had Kota Singa out there in New York with the Mets. Another one. Both those guys are hurt. And of course, Jay, let's not forget the golden boy of baseball, Shohei Ohtani. Jay, he's hitting this year, but he's not pitching.
Nope. No, he's not.
And that is due to the wear and tear these guys are getting.
Yeah.
It's a lot of these factors. And like I said, I don't know if MLB can really do much of anything to stop this. Is it you add more pitchers to a roster? Is it you take them off? Is it, do you change the amount of days in between when they start? I mean, what do we do to just kind of – it's just a never-ending question about what players can do, what coaches can do, what owners can do, what management can do to keep their valued assets on the field contributing. That way you get fans in the stand that spend money, that make your team go around. That's what you got to do. And it's and we haven't really. That's the thing. We've never really seen an epidemic like this because Jay.
Well, yeah, that's right. We haven't.
No, I mean, and like we said, we'll go back to old school, Jay. We'll go back to baseball in the 80s, right? We'll go to the 80s. Good decade for them. Nolan Ryan was best pitcher, bar none. You know, the man was absolute missile.
Yeah.
He got it done, Jay. He threw hard.
And he never missed. He never missed a game. I mean, he was always there.
He was always there. But that's not the point I'm making here. The point I'm making here is that, yes, Nolan Ryan was the hardest throwing fastball pitcher for a very, very long time in the league. That's correct, right?
Right.
But, Jay, he was one of about 500 plus who could throw the ball that hard at the time. Right. Now, you practically have a team full of Nolan Ryans who have a great fastball and an unhittable breaking pitch. That's pretty much your whole starting lineup, your starting rotation, and your bullpen. And it's not just for the majors, Jay. It's for every level of minor league play.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's pretty much how it is, it seems.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's went. It's like with football going more to passing. It's with the NBA going for the three-point shot instead of post games. Now you're seeing pitchers in baseball not throw as nearly as much breaking stuff, slower fastballs. Now, Jay, they're all bringing the one down, and they're bringing the heat.
Yeah. That's about right. You're right. Which is crazy to me because I've always thought the breaking stuff is what set up your higher speed pitches. So it's interesting to see that. And even some of these guys that have change-ups and breaking balls and stuff, they're almost at 90 miles an hour. I mean, there's guys out there almost throwing 86, 87 mile an hour change-ups.
There's not much off speed.
Yeah, I mean, what is the off speed, right?
And the first guy I can remember having a really fast-moving breaking pitch was Steven Strasburg, who recently just retired.
Oh yeah,
because I remember whenever he first came up to the league, he was throwing 85 mile an hour curveballs.
Right.
And he had a good run, won a World Series, was dominant on the mound. But Jay, what ultimately took him out from the league and made him not be the star he was anymore?
It was his arm.
It was his arm, Jay.
It was his arm.
A number one draft pick was going to turn the team around, got him a World Series championship. But this guy was supposed to be, Jay, and I'll put a nice little bow on it.
Yeah.
Jay, he was supposed to be the next Nolan Ryan.
And yet we'll never know.
And we'll never know. We will never know because his career was cut short, as we always say, from injuries.
Telling you, man, that's the quickest way. And I hate it too, Logan, because these guys literally work so hard to get where they are, and they really want to be competitors. They really want to do all these things. And, to have stuff like that happen, it sucks. I mean, 'cause that's really a lot of work they put into being a pitcher and to be good at that craft, right? I mean, it's hard.
It is. And, that's just how it is. But, guys, want to hear your thoughts in the comments, though, on our Facebook and YouTube pages, also on X, also on TikTok and Twitch. What can Major League Baseball do to stop the amount of injuries or to limit them in the near future? Once again, check us out on our social media platforms here and also on LinkedIn. We go live every single week. Tons of great content here on the show. For my co-host, Jay McLovin, always a fun time, my friend. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, once again, give us some love on our social media channels. We got a lot of great content coming down the pipeline with us, the Truth Be Told Sports Podcast, the Original Sports Podcast. We have a lot of great content here on ESCN, and we can't wait for you guys to check it out and give us your opinion. Until next time, we'll talk to you on another live episode.